Good evening to one and all present here. A warm welcome to all the sports enthusiasts, student leaders, and aspiring entrepreneurs joining us today for this special and first pre-BOSM talk of the season brought to you by BITS Embryo. We are currently in lead up to BOSM, the annual sports fest of BITS Pilani, which stands as one of the largest college sporting arenas hosting over 2,000 athletes from across the country. BOSM is not just about competition, it's a celebration of grit, discipline, athletic prowess, and team spirit. To set the stage for this year's fest, we are thrilled to host a distinguished personality whose career spans the entire spectrum of high performance, sports management, and venture capital in India. Our guest today is an Asian Games medalist and former Davis Cup tennis player who transitioned from elite athletics to becoming the founder and CEO of JSW Sports. There, he built world-class infrastructure like the Inspire Institute of Sports and led many sports franchises, including Bangalore FC, Delhi Capitals, and Haryana Steelers. Today, he is pioneering the next frontier of sports innovation as a founding general partner at Central Coast Capital, India's primary venture capital fund dedicated to sports tech and gaming startups. Please join us in welcoming Mr. Mustafa Ghouse as he addresses our student community. A few words for our students, Mr. Mustafa.
No, lovely. Thanks, Akshay. Thanks for that very nice and elaborate welcome and introduction. It's really nice to be here speaking to everybody. I think the most heartening fact is the interest and the desire of all you young kids wanting to understand more about the sports industry, for potentially working in the space, and of course the fact that the industry is now offering you opportunities way beyond the vanilla operations and management and player coaching kind of jobs. Hopefully through portfolio companies and through the growth of the industry, you're seeing a lot more space for um, non-athletes to enter the industry, and that's something that you see globally. And now happy to start seeing that in India as well.
Thank you, sir. That message really, and really inspiring message, and also motivation of sorts. So, to kick off our session now, I would want to bridge your athletic background with the startup mindset. So you have spent years competing in professional tennis at the highest level. It's basically an individual sport with nowhere to hide. Like it's you and your opponent. How did that intense personal accountability shape your decision making when you stepped off the court into leadership roles?
That's a good question to kick things off. Yeah, it is. It is. I guess subconsciously, because you've been playing an individual sport from a very young age, and more importantly, competing in matches from a very young age, you, I guess, have this inherent understanding of problem solving on your own. I think because and they've changed the rules now a little bit in tennis, where you can get some coaching and some input from your box while a match is on. While I was playing, that was not an option. You would actually get penalized if the umpire felt that your coach was giving you some signals or trying to give you some input on how to strategize or play. So you had to think extensively on your feet. You had to problem solve on your feet. So I think that was one of the biggest factors to take away. When you move from playing an individual sport to getting into, I guess, corporate life, so to say. I think the other bit is your ability to deal with pressure, because it's you against your opponent, as you mentioned. Win, lose, or draw, it's on you. And I think the ability to soak that up and deal with it is, again, something that we took for granted growing up. I think I realized that much later when I got into corporate life, that it's not something that everyone has. And if you're not exposed to that from a young age, then you see a lot of folks getting flustered in these type of pressure situations, and don't thrive in it. So I think being in that from a young age allows you to thrive in it. So which is why I always advise kids, parents that whatever be the level, just play as much sport and compete as much as you can growing up.
Okay. So basically, you mentioned ki, the pressure situations basically sets you up for the corporate life. So basically, whether it be a BOSM final or like let's say a business crisis, how do you practically train yourself to reset after like a major setback? Let's say you blunder a shot on the tennis court, or let's say you
So
blunder a deal where you basically get underpaid now, or you do
uh,
something like that.
yeah, so I think again, if I have to give a kind of a draw parallels with a sport like tennis, um, the beauty of tennis or the good or the bad of tennis is the fact that you're competing almost every other week or every week for that matter. So you could win a tournament on Sunday and play the first round of the next tournament on Tuesday and lose first round. So the high of winning a tournament is gone within 48 hours. And the same can happen in the reverse. You could lose in the first round of one tournament, feel really shit about yourself, think that you don't know what's going on in life, and go to the next tournament and just click and win. So you really don't get to rest on your laurels for too long. You have to roll with the punches in terms of whether you win a tournament or you lose first round or you lose a close finals. You just got to just put that behind you. And more so, if you even break that down further, when you get into a match situation, and I'm sure you guys would have heard a lot of interviews of tennis players and athletes and cricketers saying, I only focus on the next point, I only focus on the next ball, right? All the great batsmen in the world, they may, you know, get beaten for 5 balls straight, but they don't, you can't afford to let that bog you down. That
Yeah.
can't get the better of you. So I guess from that perspective, what you learn at a very young age is to stay in the moment, not get not to pull yourself down from a loss, not to elevate yourself too much from a win. Enjoy both. Um, it's all. You're never going to win every match. You're never going to be successful every single day. You're not going to win every deal. So I think from an overall perspective, all I can say is that learn from the mistakes, learn from what you think you could have done better in a situation. Could you have negotiated a deal better? Could you have um, strategized better on how to deal with your counterpart, um, etc.? Or read a situation, read the room better before you said something or made a call. Um, but you got to just keep moving on. That's the bottom line. So that would be my only piece of advice in all of this.
So yeah, staying in the moment and basically not thinking about what happened, because like basically anything that happens will happen for the good basically, and you can basically improve upon yourself to actually make the future better. So basically moving on, at JSW Sports you built systems at a massive scale, from establishing Bangalore FC from scratch to setting up the Inspire Institute of Sports. So what was the biggest cultural challenge in modernizing Indian sports operations?
Many challenges, to be honest. I think there were challenges internally because obviously joined a very large organization like JSW, which did not have an existing sports vertical. So I built that from scratch as the first employee on the payroll of the sports vertical, so to say. So there was a lot of challenges internally to start off with, to get things done because it's a large organization, lot of systems, lot of processes, but none of them were aligned to sport. They were aligned to the core businesses of the group and were built with that manufacturing intent. You know? So sport needs to be a lot more nimble. Sport needs to be a lot more fluid, and things are not as structured as you are going to be if you were setting up a steel plant. So there was a lot of challenges internally to start off with. Externally, yeah, I think back, we're talking 2012, 2013. There were a lot of aspects in the sports industry which were still very outdated, still very, very archaic in a way. I mean, one of the craziest and first few challenges we faced was when we were setting up the Inspire Institute of Sport and we picked sports like wrestling and boxing. Everyone told us that how can you be setting this up in Karnataka? No boxers and wrestlers will come to Karnataka. They only live in Haryana. They will never leave Haryana because the doodh in Haryana is better than everywhere else. So that's what wrestlers need. So I mean, these are like silly old myths that they all had that if they left Haryana, they would never become athletes in their lives. So these are small things, but it was a challenge. A lot of folks didn't believe that building a facility in a different part of the country would draw talent, and we still backed ourselves. We still believe that that does not matter. Once you build a quality facility and you bring in the right coaches and the right people to run it, athletes will follow, and that's what we've been able to prove. So that was one big challenge in our initial years. I think thereafter, of course, setting up sports teams, setting up Bengaluru FC, first season, first games. Historically, watching football in India was not considered cool, especially going into a stadium. The only people who went into stadiums to watch were like taxi drivers, rickshawalas, vendors basically who would pay 50 rupees, 100 rupees to sit around for 90 minutes and then, enjoy something and go home. So when we priced tickets at 500 rupees, people were like, you guys are mad. There's no way anyone is going to pay 500 rupees to come and watch Indian football. But we sold out our first game and, the rest is kind of history. So I think from that perspective, many challenges. There were challenges around players. Players were so unfit. They did not believe in nutrition. They did not believe in fitness training. Even in a physical sport like football, where you really need to be at the top of your game, they used to come back with rice bellies and really out of shape and get injured so fast. So we started fining them for that, and that was unheard of. So we've done a lot of stuff which now is considered par for the course, but 10-15 years ago, people thought we were a bit crazy.
Yeah, basically, uh, so there like an initial pushback from like the traditional coaches or athletes when you introduce like these new protocols, as in get being fined and stuff like that. Like how long did it actually take it to actually get implemented
Yeah,
into their
it took
systems?
time. It took time. We never hired traditional coaches because we knew that changing their mindset is extremely hard. But in doing that, we also alienated a lot of the traditional coaches, and they started, in a way, bad mouthing us to their athletes and to the parents, saying, "Hey, don't go to the JSW center. They are not never going to become an athlete if you went there. Stay here with me. I know what you're doing. I know what's best for you." So we dealt with a lot of that in the initial years. We let the athletes eventually decide what they felt was best. We never forced it on anyone. Um, Even after athletes had come in, changing their nutrition plans was extremely hard. I'm going to circle back to the same, Haryana example. All these athletes from Haryana, they feel that they need to drink liters and liters of badam milk, and that's the only way that they will be strong. And they eat like just, kilos of paneer and feel that that's the only answer. And we had to explain to them that that's not the right balance of nutrition that's needed. They all Indian athletes feel that they need to train hard every single day. Every session needs to be max 100%, 200%. They need to be finished, like literally dying on the mat. every day, otherwise they will never improve. We had to kind of introduce training blocks to teach them that, listen, if you do this, you're going to get injured, you're not going to recover, you're not going to be able to deliver week in and week out. So there was a lot of education that went in. We had to go into a lot of education on planning their tournament schedules, because again, they felt that they had to go for every single tournament and everything is important. So you had to educate them that some can be training tournaments and you peak only certain amount of times in the year, so you have to build up to that. So there was a lot that went on to make our athletes smarter and make them realize the values of what we were talking about and what were the best practices globally. But yeah, it's now good to see them all understand it.
Yeah, well, all the sports science and education did lead to, Bangalore FC becoming known worldwide as well as Neeraj Chopra's Olympic gold. So all this really paid off in the end. I would like to say that.
Yeah. No, agree.
So yeah. So moving forward, uh, let's say as a CEO running high-profile franchises like let's say Delhi Capital and uh, Bangalore FC, as I would say again, you operate under intense public scrutiny. So let's say when a team is going through crisis, key there's a prolonged losing streak, or is there like there's public criticism. So how does the company and you yourself personally handle this in PR situations?
I mean, you have to, in a way, cut the noise out. You got to know the ground realities. This happened to us as early as our third or fourth season with BFC. We had an absolute rock star team. We had coaches from Spain. We really went all out to build out a very, very good team, and we just didn't win. We were coming close, and somehow or the other, not winning games or being unlucky and losing games in like the 92nd minute and the 94th minute and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was very, very frustrating. It was frustrating for the players, it was frustrating for the coaches, it was frustrating for management, it was frustrating for the owners. But that's life and that's sport for you, right? You can't script anything. So I think it's about staying like believing and staying true to the process, knowing that, listen, we're doing the right things, everyone's working hard, everyone's head is in the right place, everyone is doing it with the right intent, and you know tides will turn, the winds will start coming, and you will have the success that you want. So we did that. We were able to read the situation and know that this is going in the right direction. It's just a matter of rubber the green, as they say. And then you see the success as you kind of stay. So that was the one example where you really keep the noise out, work hard, and continue to do what you're doing. Flip side to that is that, yes, if the criticism is true, you don't feel like things are going well, you don't feel like the players are working hard, you don't feel like the coach is the right person to lead it, he's losing the dressing room, you act accordingly. You have to take hard decisions, that a shake-up is needed, things are not the way they should be, and then you have to listen and you have to do what has to be done. So it's about knowing and being, I guess, working with your ear to the ground, having a pulse of the situation, and then taking the right calls.
Yes. So basically, let's say when you're in your last say, few sentences, you mentioned key okay talking them out and stuff like that. But now let's say we have these big profile coaches or big profile players who are in the team. So when you hold them accountable for their performance, they might have some ego issues maybe. So how do you keep that star talent and keep them aligned with the team ka collective goal?
So I think one thing we were very clear on and have been very clear from the start is that there's no one who's larger than the sport. There's no one who's larger than the team. In our very, very, very first ever game in Bengaluru FC, Sunil Chetri, even though he was the captain of the team, did not start. He came on as a substitute because he had come off an injury, he was not fit, he was not ready. Other players had played more and were better positioned to to start the game. It was a conversation. The coach felt that that was the right call. We backed the coach. We said, listen, we are with you. You do what you have to do. There is no egos here. There is no one bigger than the team. And you need to have the chat with Sunil. Let him know that this is the situation. And, he has to fight for his place. The same has been done in cricket. The same has been done in kabaddi. The same has been done in every sport. So, one thing that we are very clear on, and the philosophy has always been that the best players will take the pitch, the best players will take the field, whoever's worked hard in training. There is no favoritism, there is no biases. You just put out the guys who have worked the hardest and are in the best form at that point of time.
So, hearing from what you said, we basically you and your team basically work very close with the coaches and the players. So, what specific metrics and frameworks do you and your team basically use to evaluate whether a strategy is broken, or is it just like the luck factor playing in?
So, so we work closely with the coaches and the technical team, but we don't interfere with them. There's a very distinct
Yeah.
line that is drawn between supporting them, hearing them out, giving our views, but letting them do what they have to do. At the end of the day, we are paying top dollar to get some of the best coaches in the world to be part of the program. They know what they're there for a reason, and we trust them and we back them. Obviously, we have technical directors and we have technical experts that bridge the gap between the coach and the management, and it is their responsibility to get a clear sense of what's happening and whether things are going in the right direction or not, and that would then lead to us taking certain decisions.
Okay. Very well. Very understood. Very well. Very valid. So, moving forward again, from the outside, these sports franchises look like glamorous assets and stuff like that. Ki, oh, if I had contacts with them, I would have such glamorous lifestyle. But financially, sports properties operate under many unique economic models, which is not basically understood by the general public. So, what is the biggest business reality of running these multi-crore sports franchises in India that the general public doesn't really see or realize?
So first things first is every time some young kids come to me and say they want to work in a sports team and they want a job in a sports team or an internship at a team, I have to first burst a very big bubble that they have. Because their perception is that they're going to be sitting in the dugout or they're going to be sitting in the locker room with all these players, rubbing shoulders with them and having a gala time. um, I have to tell them that if you really want to work on a match day, there's a high probability that you're not going to watch a single minute or a single ball during the course of that whole match, because you're going to be probably back in the corner somewhere, either working the merchandise stall or working the F&B section or catering to hospitality sections, and you don't get a second to really sit back and enjoy. You're not going to be sitting in the lounge, drinking a coke and watching the game. So that's one bubble that always has to be burst. Um, that aside, yes, sports teams, like most businesses, to be honest, and I would like it when people look at it as a business decision and a business venture, um, need time. You need time to invest in those teams. You need time to invest in building out revenue models that will make the team sustainable and profitable in the future. IPL took 10 years to turn profitable. Teams in Kabaddi took 7, 8 years to turn profitable. So globally, that's always the case. You need to spend 8 to 10 years to build out sports franchises and see them generate revenue to the extent that you would like. And it's no different here in India. If you're looking for a quick turnaround, if you're looking to break even and start making money in a few years' time, then don't venture into sport, because that's not going to happen.
Okay, so you mentioned basically like the profitabilities of these sports events that happen. Like let's say you said IPL and Kabaddi. So if we had to fast track something, like obviously as you said, you can't really fast track it, but let's say we want to reduce it from 7 to 8 years to, let's say, a time period of 4 to 5 years. So does the secret to it basically lie in monetizing grassroots academies and youth leagues rather than just these top tier professional leagues like IPL, ISL, and Pro Committee?
I mean, it depends. It's not necessary. It could be either ways. Grassroots sport is also hard. It also takes time. In some instances, it is not uh, as quickly monetizable as top tier sport. Yes, cost elements are much lower, so maybe the time frame could be marginally shorter, but there's no hard and fast rule.
Okay. And also following up on that, basically outside of IPL, how can non-cricket leagues in India build a sustainable non-broadcast revenue streams like, let's say, merchandising, ticketing, and digital memberships? So basically, let's say we get some very niche sport into India. Let's say, even though discus throws, hammer throws, basically these track and field events are there. So how can we turn these into profitable sports apart from the broadcasting parts of it?
No, I think that most sports have to find their independent niche IPs, to scale and to grow. Um, Cricket has done what it has done because of the fandom that it has and the obsession that we have in the country to follow the sport and to um, play the sport. Other sports need to do that same amount of hard work and groundwork to gain that popularity and obsession. So unless you can see that happening, you will not see that turnout that you would see that you do see for cricket. So from my perspective, I mean, I keep telling everyone that even if you are launching a league in your respective sport, you have to do it from a bottom up perspective. You have to keep the sport at the center of it and do what's necessary to build around the sport, and then you will see success. You can't just parachute top in and say that I'm launching a league, but nobody knows the ABC of that sport in the first place. So it has to be both ways.
So you basically need to have like this retention factor into that sport that will actually let the audience keep coming. Like if we could say in IPL, we had the impact players that got.
No, it's not that. It's not that. The success of the IPL is the fact that yes, you have the best players in the world playing, yeah, but you also have the aspirational factor of young players who want to get to the IPL, who are obsessed with playing cricket, who are playing cricket to improve and keep, you know, playing at the next level. So you have working both ends of the pyramid, right? The base is very wide because of the attraction of the IPL and Indian cricket as a whole, and the top of the pyramid is extremely exciting and encouraging to watch. So the other sports need to do the same. You have the ISL, whichever in whatever format, but the grassroots level of football needs to grow to that level that you have more and more kids wanting to play in these teams. So it has to work from both ends.
Okay, so basically generating interest into it
Yeah.
so that people know the ABCs of the sport. Okay, so moving on to your newer stuff, like let's say at uh, Center Court Capital, you're evaluating very early stage founders merging sports, gaming, and deep tech. So, what is the biggest gap or opportunity do you see in the Indian sports tech ecosystem as of now?
I mean, I think we're barely scratching the surface. To be honest, I think the tech penetration across sport in India is very limited, which is kind of the thesis behind us wanting to invest in this space. We feel that there is a lot of demand for it. The sport and fitness and wellness has never seen a more uh, exciting time than it is right now in India. Everyone is obsessed with it. Everyone wants to has included it in their day to day life. It's not a fad. It's actually part of your routine, and it's not just a let's go play badminton on the weekend. It's about okay, how do I work out to play better? How do I eat to play better? How do I sleep to play better? And now it's how do I recover to play better as well. So all aspects are now starting to kind of come into play, and yeah, we're looking at opportunities across the board to fund and to help scale up.
So, the Center Good Capital is a venture capital fund. So, how are you currently evaluating the companies that are coming into the ecosystem? Is it like, are you looking for AI and web platforms, and what kind of interactive media products are you thinking that will actually lead to the next decade of fan engagement?
So I mean, obviously, we evaluate everything that comes our way. Fan engagement and AI are, yes, definitely um, big gaps. I would say not anyone not being well adopted, not being well represented in the whole sports franchise ecosystem. If you look at the US and Europe, which are very mature markets, there is a very strong importance being given and has been given over the years on knowing your fans, first party data around your fans, and then being able to monetize them and upsell and continue to engage with them. Unfortunately, we don't do that yet in India, and that's something that we like to see unlock. IPL teams have massive fan bases. They need to now really find ways and means to unlock those fan bases. So yeah, we do look at that space a lot. AI is definitely changing the game in many aspects around sport and the management of sport and the back end of sport. And whoever adopts it the best will definitely come out winning.
Hmm. Okay. So across your journey, you have seen both elite athletes and startup founders. So what do you think are some of the red flags in a founder's mindset that tells you they won't be surviving their startup journey?
I mean, more than red flags, I'll tell you what we really look for when we're evaluating, right? I think obviously start off with wanting to get a sense of their understanding of the sector and their vision and their desire to build something big in whatever they're looking at. That's very important. So if you want to counter that, if you feel that they're in it for the very short term and want to make a quick buck and feel that in 2 3 years they're going to hit it out of the park and then live a cushy life after that, then they're not our guys. We want people who are ready and are in it for the long haul, ready to really grind it out when things are not going well, because we know that these are not smooth journeys. There's no one business plan that is going to just see you all the way through. You're going to have to navigate through challenges. You're going to have to change directions. So people who are ready to do that, people who are ready to listen, who are receptive to feedback, those are very important aspects when we are evaluating founders. Obviously, passion levels and desire and hard work come right on top. Um, and they're just being true to the cause is something that we look for.
Okay. So basically, uh, moving forward on this only, if let's say in BITS is an engineering institute and has one of the highest startup founder rates that we have seen across India. So, what would you want to recommend the children in our college here across all three campuses about entering into the sport tech ecosystem?
Please come, please do that. We need more and more quality founders in the space. There is a lot that's going to be happening in the Indian sports ecosystem over the next 10 15 years. This is genuinely India's time. You guys would have read about all the announcements that are being made. We are hosting the 2030 Commonwealth Games. There is a strong intent to try and host 2036 Olympics. Khelo India has doubled their budget for the next 5 years, 36,000 crores being deployed to build out the sports ecosystem. Corporate funding in sport has never been higher. State governments are obsessed with wanting to build new infrastructure and grow sport. Anywhere you look, everywhere you look, people are wanting to back this sector. It's one of the fastest growing sectors in the country, and at 14% CAGR year on year over the next 10 years. So there's never been a better time to be building in the space. So if you are passionate about it, if you have some ideas, you definitely should give it a go.
So uh, that's pretty good to hear. Because I myself want to get into like the startup ecosystems also. So
One of our teammates is an ex-BITS guy
oh, that actually, yeah, that's crazy.
on my
So
investing team.
yeah, and okay. So recently we heard this very how can I say an inspiring story where like the Indian like India's I think if I remember correctly it was the Minerva Academy's U15 team and we defeated the Liverpool KU15 team with a stunning around I think it was 5 to 6 goals like it was 5-6 like I think it was 6-0 yeah so it was self-funded by the coach himself by raising capital and stuff like that. So, how do you think the Indian government and the Indian public can actually contribute to this cause so that the future generations in football can actually realize their dreams?
So I think in football there needs to be a bit of an overhaul. Things have not been going well for Indian football over the last 5 6 years. We've actually been going backwards in terms of the national teams and the performance. I think the entire ecosystem needs to be upgraded. The amount of development work that's happening at a grassroots level needs to increase multifold. You need better academies in the country. You need more players, better coaches that will help uh, players grow. And more importantly, you need a lot more competition in India. I think those are the key factors if we really want to see football grow in the country.
Okay. So, moving forward on the last segments of our talk here. So, many best students will pivot across different fields and will move into management, product entrepreneurship, and will actually move on to many finance field itself. So we talked about the sports ecosystem, but how can a student change his own mindset so that they can actually not succumb to the pressure of a venture capitalist taking their pitch? Because you would have taken a lot of pitches in your career for now in Center Good Capital.
Yeah, I mean, I think practice. If you feel that you're not a natural at that, practice. Make sure you put yourself in situations where you are, you know, sharpening your pitch before actually sitting in front of a VC and doing it. But once you do that, just relax, stay true to yourself, be comfortable, because that's what we look for. We don't if we see someone who's very flustered and unsure of himself or herself, you tend to get discouraged by wanting to that of going further in the conversation. So just relax, enjoy yourself. It's a journey. You're gonna get more no's than yeses. Be prepared for that. We have to do that as well. If I'm fundraising and meeting 1,000 LPs, I know that 900 of them are going to say no, but I need those 10 to say yes. Similarly, for early stage founders, you may pitch to a dozen VC funds, but you need one of them to say yes. So just relax, enjoy the process, um, and yeah, go out and give it your best.
That's that's pretty insightful. And okay, moving on, a very short question. What is this one core skill that you built as a 20-year-old athlete that you still use every day at JSW Sports and Center Court Capital?
Core skill set would be discipline.
Discipline. Okay. Discipline. Yeah. So I would, yeah, discipline as in, uh, well,
Discipline as in
discipline
knowing to
as
do
in,
what has to be done. Discipline as knowing that you have to do some stuff which you don't enjoy doing, but still have to get it done. Discipline is about being the first one in the office and last one out. Discipline is across the board.
those discipline skills, I think, have been instilled into a child in the Indian ecosystem since when they were very little, like around 4 to 5 year olds also.
Not
But
necessarily, not all.
not necessarily. But yeah, the current generations are pretty much changing as much as I have seen. But all this quote, as the quote itself teaches you how this discipline works and how you can actually thrive in a ecosystem such as the venture code capital. Okay, so we'll be ending soon. We'll be ending the talk soon. But before that, I would really like to have like a small, quick fire, like rapid fire section with you.
Okay.
So, what was your favorite? Okay, we'll be starting right now. You'll have around 20 to 30 seconds to answer each question at max. So, what was your favorite career moment? Winning the Asian Games medal, seeing BFC win its debut league title, or watching Neeraj Chopra win gold at Tokyo?
All three are very different places for me. Winning a medal was my personal achievement. Having BFC win was a team effort. Seeing Neeraj win was a joy for the country.
Absolutely. So, and then, okay, next question. One sports tech gadget or broadcast feature today that you think will become completely obsolete by 2030, and one sports tech gadget that is really niche right now and will become the next big thing by 2030.
Oh, good question. I think the gut health space and any gadget that comes around that will be extremely valuable in the years to come. Um, One that is obsolete already. I mean, I'm not a. Well, that's a good question. What's obsolete right now? I think tracking devices on sports equipment is not really working.
Yeah, okay, that actually, right. Yeah, so basically, the FIFA football itself had the tracking device. It was something that I heard. What you need to charge the ball before you actually play the game now.
Yeah.
So that's not a pretty useful feature. Okay, so which non-cricket sport, except for let's say football and kabaddi, because we saw their rise, has the highest commercial upside over the next 5 years?
Right now, it's a paddle.
Paddle. Okay, that's actually pretty. Paddle, yeah, we have a paddle court at BITS itself here too. So okay, uh, so okay, Center Court Capital works in the esport viewership section also. So, do you think the esports viewership in India will surpass a traditional non-cricket sports viewership within the decade?
Will be hard.
Will be hard. Because, yeah, that's actually hmm, questionable. Because, like, I've seen many Indian gamers also rise up in this situation also.
They have,
But
but it's still not penetrated to tier two, tier three to the extent that cricket has. So it'll be a bit hard.
okay, okay, and okay. Continuing forward, what was harder, facing a 200 km per hour serve on the court or managing a high stakes IPL auction room?
um, I think IPL auction room is harder. On the tennis court, I've practiced and it's on me. I know what I have to do. In the IPL auction room, you have many variable factors.
Okay, a lot of factors to actually consider from. Okay, and this final question, one book or video or podcast that you would recommend on leadership, sports, or investing that every student here should read or watch or hear?
Um, Sports book, I love The Open by Andre Agassi. I think that's one of the better sports autobiographies I have read. Um, Zero to One is a good book. I enjoyed reading that in the investing space. What is the third bit?
One was leadership, sports, and investing.
Leadership. Leadership. I read quite a few. The most recent one I liked was um, with the LA Lakers and their journey of winning multiple NBA titles. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe three. I have heard about the LA Lakers one and then 0 to 1 in investing creation.
yeah.
So, okay. Now we'll basically be closing our talk. And thank you so much, Mustafa sir, for actually sharing such candid and powerful insights today. We'll now open the floor for some questions that the audience might have.
Sure.
Okay, so it seems I think the talk was pretty clear and straightforward for the audience. I think all their questions got answered. But if something else does appear during the closing remarks, we'll surely cover that.
Sure.
Okay, so from understanding how the discipline of Asian Games athlete translates into managing multicolor franchises like BFC and Delhi Capitals, to seeing how Center Code Capital is backing the future of sports tech and gaming. This talk has, I think, given our student body an incredible blueprint on leadership system, building, and resilience. So, as we head straight into Boston, your words serve perfectly as a perfect catalyst for our athletes, organizers, and student community to push boundaries, embrace the process, and deliver peak performance. So, Mr. Mustafa, a few words for your closing remarks.
No, it was lovely to speak with everyone. Hope this was helpful and insightful. And as you guys think of your future and look to build in the startup world, just want to continue to reiterate sport and fitness and wellness and gaming are moving in a very positive direction. And yeah, to hope to see a lot of you guys um, pitching to us, looking to raise capital and building something big.
Thank you, sir. So, on behalf of BITS Embryo and the entire BITS Pilani community, I would extend our deepest gratitude to Mr. Mustafa for taking his time out to interact with us. To our audience, I would like to thank you for joining in and making this session a success, as I would like to say. Make sure to tune in for upcoming events that will lead up to BOSM or other pre-BOSM talks that BITS Embryo will be hosting. Thank you once again, sir, and we wish you all the very best. Thank you for this wonderful evening.
Thank you and all the best to you guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yes, sir. I actually noticed one thing. I saw a few cricket bats behind in your background. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about them, from whom are they and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. This one is Ricky Ponting. The furthest one away is Rishabh Pant. And the other two are the Delhi Capitals men's and women's team from their first seasons.
Okay, that's actually really crazy. You have all the legacy bats kept with you right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you, sir.